This is Wednesday, May 1st. There are 77 days until San Diego Comic-Con 2019. Welcome to SDConCast, the official podcast of the San Diego Comic-Con Unofficial blog.
VANUHTEE, go. Oh my god, I love LiveJournal, and my LiveJournal loves me. Current mood is hyperactive, current music, refuse 73. I love the color scheme, it's pink and purple, it looks green.
Well, good evening. I am your host, James Riley. I'd like to welcome you all to the first episode of the 2019 season, our 8th season of the SDConCast. And joining me on the podcast tonight, as always, Carrie Dixon.
Hey, guys. And I see a lot of you are really happy the theme song's back.
Yes. And also joining us tonight, Andy Wagner.
Hey, all. Nice to see you. And also glad for the old theme song.
Yes, I was considering playing the new theme song first and stopping it and starting.
You should have. That would have been funny.
But I'm like, nah, let's go for it. All right, so we'll be taking your comments and questions during the show. So you can tweet us at SD_comic_con or use the hashtag SDConcast. We will also be keeping an eye on the YouTube live chat if you wish to comment there. So we're just going to get right into discussions because we do not have a guest today. Our guests will start next week with who, Carrie?
Mark Evanier will be back, which if you watched last year, that was quite honestly one of my favorite episodes we've ever done. So I'm really excited that he's coming back again this year to tell us a whole bunch of stories about 50 years of Comic-Con.
Yep. Yeah, 50 years. This is the 50th anniversary of Comic-Con. That is crazy.
Yep. It's also our 10th.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, that's not as impressive, but...
10th year of the blog covering Comic-Con. All kinds of anniversaries. But we're going to kick it off with discussing the sister con of Comic-Con, WonderCon, which happened in Anaheim at the end of March. So First off, let's just talk about how the con went in general. Carrie, why don't you start it since you actually went this year?
I know. I went in, I think, 2014, and I haven't been back. I didn't really have a great year in 2014, but I had a really good time this year. I just thought it was really good. Like, the programming this year seems so much stronger, and not just because I actually went. The show floor had awesome stuff. Everything this year I just thought was, like, really well done. So I had a great time. What about you, Andy? Because this was also your second time attending, right?
Yes. Yeah. It was my second time. And really, it was really good. Some of my best things, my favorite things were all the art in the exhibit hall. Loved wandering through and just meeting all the artists, getting the chance to talk with them, meet with them. I was Justin Harder's booth babe for a little bit again. I'm a little bummed because he's still on the wait list for a Comic-Con booth. He kind of shot for the stars this year. He went for an actual booth instead of a table in Small Press or Artist Alley, but they waitlisted him. So all you Hotelpocalypse guys, the artists suffer too, in so many ways. But yeah, that was a great WonderCon this year.
Now, James, you've definitely been more than twice. How did you think this year stacked up?
I thought it was like the things that are great about it just got a little bit better, and I didn't really notice anything like really bad at all. I mean, I can't think of anything that anyone really complained about that was like pervasive throughout the convention. It was like little normal convention-y things that go wrong, but nothing really stood out that was like, oh, this is awful. So I think it was just, every year it just gets a little bit better as they fine tune being in that space and how it goes. And I think I agree that the programming was definitely a step up.
Yeah, it really was this year. I felt like it was way stronger than it has been in previous years. I mean, if you just look at like the fact that we had, quite frankly, more than one movie or more than one studio show up, which hasn't happened in a while. I mean, it was just really good.
Yeah, absolutely. So since it was so good, I'll kick us off with what was our favorite thing about the show. And for me, it was unlike Comic-Con. I mean, well, I could do it at Comic-Con, but was having time for smaller panels. I managed to go to one of the Valiant panels, the Ryan Maynarding Spotlight panel. I went to multiple panels over both of the days I went, since I had to work on Friday. I didn't get to go on Friday, which would normally be my walking the floor most of the day, kind of a day. But I managed to go to multiple panels, and I really enjoyed being able to do that, where Comic-Con is always so much trying to get into the bigger panels or events or whatever else is going on because it's Comic-Con, and you're once a year chance.
Yeah. Well, I feel exactly the same way. For instance, like I know at San Diego, trying to get into the NASA panels is always like, I walked in to the WonderCon one like 5 minutes after it started. Like, you can't do that in San Diego. So that was fun. But for me, my favorite thing is, as it pretty much is at any convention, the art. So I basically spent a day and a half just wandering Artist Alley. Love Artist Alley. Got some really cool commissions, like this lovely one from Patrick Ballesteros of what, in my opinion, is the best Disney movie, The Great Mouse Detective. No one agrees with me, but it's great.
I'll agree with you there. I like that one.
I do.
It's a great movie.
I am old enough to say that I saw that in theaters when it came out.
So am I.
Yeah.
I think it came out the year I was born. So I did not, but that's okay. And then Bob Q did this really cool thing of the magicians for me. So I just love the art. What about you, Andy?
Well, like I said, I love the art too. And I did love the expanded panels, the bigger paneling that they had this year. It does concern me, though, because one of my other favorite things about WonderCon is the fact that it's a smaller, more intimate convention. You can find a bench to sit on, or a place to plug your phone in, whereas at Comic-Con, you're hugging a wall, and chances are security's kicking you out the door. So I'm wondering if CCI might be focusing on bringing bigger ticket panels and drawing more of a crowd to Anaheim. So that I'd really like to see it stay small-ish, but the CCI is who they are. They're going to try to make it bigger and better.
I don't think that they can make it much bigger, since they're utilizing all the space and it's sold out every year. So I don't think it's going to get bigger. I just think that just varying degrees of the programming will indicate just how hard it is to do things like get into specific panels and such, which was not a problem this year. Even the biggest panels, the X-Men panel on Friday and the Shazam panel on Saturday, I don't think that they filled up until right before the panel, if even then.
I will say one of the ways actually that WonderCon has somewhat expanded, at least in the last 2 years, is there's been a couple screenings, which really didn't used to happen at WonderCon. Last year we had A Quiet Place. This year we had Shazam and Tolkien. So that, in my opinion, is really cool. And I'd love to see like more off-site kind of stuff at WonderCon.
Yes. And they have a little bit of space for things off to the sides, but there really is no off-site space unless they go to a hotel and use some hotel space.
Yep. Real quick, before we move on to our next thing, I wanted to address a couple real quick questions. The Watchful and Harmonious subscriber said, but why doesn't Marvel have a bigger presence at WonderCon? I think one of the biggest things, honestly, is just that there's 3 huge conventions back to back to back. And so that's really hard for companies to set up and pack up and move and do all of that 3 weekends in a row. Like, I mean, I felt so bad for the artists who did the 3-leg race of Emerald City, C2, E2, and then WonderCon. Like, that's just grueling. So I do think that has somewhat of an impact on why some people don't show up.
And basically, WonderCon has turned into, I think we all agree, it's basically an artists convention and a cosplay convention, because the cosplay rules the front of the convention center, around the fountain, and all up and down and over, even into the secondary area over by the arena, is now turned into almost like a cosplay central part 2. And the Artist Alley, if you look at the show floor over the years, the Artist Alley keeps growing. And the exhibitor space is now, I think, they're both basically the same size.
Yeah.
where before the artist alley was usually maybe a quarter of the floor.
Yeah. And on that exact same note, Sir Lister Smeg just asked, do you ever see Funko having a huge presence at WonderCon? And not really, because for one, Emerald City is always going to be their main focus out of those 3 conventions because it's their home state convention. And like James said, like that's just not necessarily what that convention is, WonderCon.
Yeah, I think with the exception of, some of the dealers obviously do well or they wouldn't show up, but I think sometimes the focus is so much on panels and artists and the cosplay that a lot of people are not shopping as much as they used to. There are still people shopping, obviously, but I don't think it's in the numbers that it has been in the past. So this really has turned into less of an exhibitor show. And also, we don't have very much presence of any large companies. I think DC really is the only major company that shows up in any quantity, Valiant Comics has never been to WonderCon. And if they do go, it's usually as part of someone else's booth where they just, bring a couple of their people and do some panels. They always do panels, but they don't actually have a booth presence there of their own. And it's just, they have to make their decisions, like Carrie said, based on time, money, and manpower. And WonderCon across the country for a lot of those East Coast companies is just not worth it. Yeah, I agree. That's true. Yeah. But it's still a great convention. Obviously, we all love going there, and so therefore, what I think it is that it's very helpful to have a different kind of convention in the area for people to go to who like those different things. So it's not just the same thing everywhere they go. Yep, I agree. So let's move on to what things we may improve, which probably isn't going to be very much at this point. I couldn't think of anything except for my Sunday schedule was like in the North Building or the regular building, like every other panel. So I had to walk back and forth between the 2 buildings like 3 or 4 times.
You're getting your steps in, James.
Yeah, get my steps in. So that was a complaint. Put everything I want to see in the same building, please. That's my complaint.
That's fair. That's fair. For me, the only thing I really had to note was that downstairs in the little holding area where they kept you before, like doors would open, they didn't have trash cans, which was like the strangest thing in my opinion. Like if you put a few thousand people together, maybe they did after the first day, but the first day they definitely did not.
They may have had a similar issue. They've used that area for holding for the last 2 D23s as well. Down there on Hall E, I think they call it. It's basically just a big meat locker when it's just a bunch of people sitting around. And I think they had like 1 or 2 trash cans next to the food vendor out over there on the other side of the hall. And that was about it. I don't remember there being very many trash cans in the place. So they might have had the same problem. Someone needs to put some trash cans in that room.
Yes. But I mean, truly, like if that's the worst thing that we can say about WonderCon 2019, like I think it was a good year. So, yeah. And then real quick before we move on, Trope 4 said, Patrick's a good place. Art was incredible. Obviously, I agree.
Oh, yeah.
So, all right. Does that do it for WonderCon? Anybody else want to add anything?
I think everyone going there is pretty happy with the show, right?
Yes, I think so too.
Oh, yeah.
And sorry, guys, that our wrap-up is so late. I went on vacation, so we're doing that.
Yeah, WonderCon was during her vacation, so like it's like, I'm going to go to the convention, then I'm going to go to Disneyland, and then I'm going to go to Universal. So we didn't see Carrie as much as we probably should have or wanted to, but we did get to sit down and chat, and it was nice seeing her in person more than once a year.
That's true.
And it was nice seeing you guys too. Shout out especially to Amanda Banda. Do you remember her, James?
I might.
We sat next. You're not saying anything.
Oh, because you spoke for a second there. Who sat next to what?
Yeah. Do you remember Amanda Panda, who we sat next to in the Hall H line?
Vaguely.
Okay. Well, she was very nice. I ran into her again. So, good times. All right. So let's move on to Hotelpocalypse, which I think is on everyone's mind. So we just
almost everyone's.
You be quiet, local. You be quiet, local.
Hey, I got one thing.
That's fine. That's fine. So we did a quick little, or I did a quick little informal poll on Twitter not too long ago to see after all of this has been going on, how many people still don't have a hotel room. And according to my, again, super, super informal poll that's not scientific at all, 35% of you still don't have a hotel room, which is not amazing, but it could be worse, I guess. The nice thing, in my opinion, about this year is at least it worked seemingly mostly like it was supposed to. There's always a couple of like super weird variances. Like I think there was a dude who was like, I didn't get it until 15 minutes after the hour, and I got like Hard Rock or something. Like that one made no sense. But for the most part, people who submitted early or got in early, I should say, because the way that the Hotelpocalypse works is it's based on when you gain access to the form rather than when you hit submit like the old system. For the most part, people who got in early got better hotels. It seemed like most people got hotels. Waitlist has been pretty painless. The weird thing to me right now about waitlist is basically that everything is sold out and stuff keeps popping back up and stuff will keep popping back up. But usually there's a whole bunch of Mission Valley stuff still at this point that anybody could book, and right now there's not. And we may see a whole bunch of that being let go after the I think it's May 5th cancellation deadline, but right now it's a little bit of slim pickings. So what do you guys think? How do you think this year went?
I think it went basically like usual. I didn't notice anything different or odd. That whole the one of the thing that was different was that whole prove you're a human thing.
That was new. I got that too.
Which was weird because it just pops up and you're like, I don't remember having to do this before. I'm human. Like, why do I have to do this? But apparently they wanted you to do it, and it's like, all right, whatever.
Yeah. But again, I feel like for the most part, it worked like it was supposed to. I mean, there's always like every year people are like, I want to understand completely down to the minutia, like how this works. And it's just that's not going to happen. No matter what they say, there has to be randomization going on like further in, because there's no way, quite frankly, that like one person is getting in at a time. Like it's got to be like, whether it's dozens or hundreds of people getting in at the same second. So they have to be like somehow randomizing that, and who knows like how much further they're randomizing it. So again, like it's never going to completely make sense.
It'd be nice to know something of how they handle it. Like, I mean, it would make sense if they had like a database
that's turning a wheel on a lot of bingo.
Yeah, right.
And every now and then they let a bunch out. She spins the wheel, they let a bunch out. That's the process.
Again, though, I don't know. I lived through whatever year that was like freaking disaster. Was that 2015?
Yes,
yeah.
2015. Like I still have like PTSD over that year. So like anything that's better than that, I'm like, this is great. This is good. We can do this. But just in general, I feel like 90% of the time it makes sense, and 10% of the time it's just like it's fucking on peak. Like what do you want? Like I wish I had an answer. I don't.
This is how you answer the question. Jermaine Cervantes asks, is there a difference in getting a hotel if you're staying more than 3 nights? Answer, we don't know.
We don't know, but I did do polls about, and I mean like basically any wild theory that people had about like, well, if you stay this many nights, like, does that give you an advantage? Or if you book 1 room or if you book 2 rooms, does either of those give you an advantage? And basically what, in my opinion, the poll showed was that there was multiple people in any of those categories who still got rooms. And so what that says to me is maybe it gives you an advantage, but a very small one. Like probably not even worth mentioning.
If you want a real advantage, only ask for like Tuesday through Friday. If you're not staying Friday and Saturday night, you're going to have a good advantage of getting a room because most people don't want those days.
Yeah. I mean, you're not wrong. But again, just in general, I just don't think that it makes that much of a difference in the end. I really don't. I think that so much of it depends on like a multitude of factors, like the selections that you made, the room type that you wanted, the dates that you picked, the availability, the human error that maybe your clock is wrong and maybe you don't understand what your timestamp is. Like, there's just so many factors that, like, again, you're never going to get a super clear answer. And I know that that's the very last thing that Comic-Con attendees want to hear, because the last thing that we are is patient or understanding.
Or accepting of vagueness.
Yeah.
Yes, or accepting a vagueness. But these are not our strong suits. But I just don't. I wish there was a better answer. I wish there was a better system. And I mean, we have suggestions for better systems. We wrote up a thing like 2 years ago about like, this is how we would do it. But in general, it's better than 2015. Just literally all I ask of the universe.
All we ask.
It's literally all I ask.
The wait list is running now, and as you mentioned, there's nothing available, but things do pop up. We've been seeing people grab hotel rooms consistently throughout each day,
including downtown. I think somebody this morning messaged me and said they got a Bayfront this morning. So like, and we say this all the time, like, if you look, there are options. There are absolutely options. You just have to be willing to be patient and to put in the time to keep looking. And if you don't want to do that, like, go book a Motel 6 somewhere like a little bit further down the trolley line. Like, it's not the end of the world. And there are definitely hotels. Like, if you just go to ExpediaHotels.com or whatever, like, you can find a hotel that's not $1,000 a night. It won't be close, but you can make it work. Uber.
Yep.
Yeah. Like the new Marriott here in El Cajon. It's close, fairly close to public transportation, fairly close to the trolley. You can easily get a room there for less than $1,000 a night. And early in the morning, you hop on the first trolley down. It's that simple. But yeah, definitely persistence and tenacity pay off if you really want a downtown hotel. I know there's a couple of Twitter accounts that tweet every now and then when they see hotels pop up. And if they have the time to actually watch all the hotel sites, more power to them.
Yep.
Love that. But yeah, just keep trying, and hopefully you get what you want.
Yeah. Just to address a couple of questions in the comments. So Lister's Meg said, Airbnb baby, no craziness for me. Again, I'm sure that yours is going to work out just fine, but I always caution people against Airbnb, just because every single year we have multiple people who tell us my Airbnb host canceled on me and now wants 5 times the amount, and it's a week before Comic-Con. What do I do? So just be cautious, because it's not. Just be cautious. There are definitely horror stories out there. Let's see here. Christopher Milano said, whereas 2 of us got in within the first minute and got nothing. See, I wish I had an answer for you. But that's just the 10% of the time when On Peak is throwing darts at a wall or that lady is spinning her wheel. Like, don't have an answer.
They had a big, long Excel sheet and someone deleted your line before they put it into the system. Who knows?
Yeah.
Truly, who knows? Let's see here. Do we have anything else? I think that's pretty much it. All right. Yeah. As many people said, Shruggy, the official mascot of San Diego Comic-Con.
So there were some other things happening, like the shuttles got announced, and there were some pretty big changes. You want to fill us in on those, Andy?
Yeah, we actually had a couple of big changes this year for 2019. The first one is, if you look at the shuttle map, you'll see 57 locations total are listed. But if you look even closer, 15 of them are listed as walking. So that means the shuttle won't be stopping there. They'll wave as they drive past, but they consider you close enough to walk from your hotel to the convention center.
And I don't think some of those hotels ever had shuttles, right? Like the Hilton or the Omni across the street. Those never had shuttles, did they?
No, well,
but some of the ones that did have shuttles in the past don't have them anymore.
Yeah. I don't know. I never rode the shuttle around
Yeah,
there,
me
but I
neither.
was actually looking at last year's map, and I mean they did actually have like the shuttle stopping at Omni, but so effectively what they've done is what used to be the orange line, they've killed that. But what the orange line said was like it was by request only. So I think maybe you had to like get on the bus and like pull the string or whatever. I don't know. Again, I never rode the orange line.
Maybe you slip the driver $1 and say orange line, please. I don't know.
I don't know either. But effectively what they've done is they've removed that orange line, which like James and Andy said are for the closer hotels. The other there is another major change though this year on the shuttles, right, Andy?
Yes. The other big change is basically if you want to take the shuttles, you're going to play Cinderella because the shuttles are not operating for 24 hours anymore. On Wednesday, they're going from 3 p.m. to midnight. On Thursday, they go from 5 a.m. to 5 a.m. to 1 a.m. The next day. And that's Thursday through Saturday. And then Sunday, they go from 5 a.m. to 7 p.m. So basically, if you're not really getting ready to leave by midnight and trying to find that shuttle, you're calling an Uber or calling a cab or something like that.
Yeah, and truthfully, I think for Comic-Con attendees, almost the bigger impact is actually in the morning because so many of us line up early that if you wanted to go and line up, at, let's say you wanted to be in line by 5 a.m., well, you better take an Uber at 4:30 in the morning then.
Yep.
Exactly. Yep. You're not going to be able to hop on the shuttle at 2 a.m. Get down there to the convention center super early. So
I will say though, what I hope at least taking away the orange line means is that maybe they're going to block off the streets again. Maybe the reason that they've taken it away is because last year it was so hard to like get around down there and they figured like you're close enough, like you can just walk.
Yeah.
That's probably it. And they haven't said specifically that they are going to block off Harbor Drive again, but it worked out so well last year and they got a lot of positive feedback from it. I don't see why they wouldn't do it again this year as long as the city gave them permission to do so.
Yeah, that's how I feel. It was amazing last year. Loved it. All right. For those who don't need a shuttle but do need to park, James, you want to tell us what's going on?
Sure. Ace Parking is handling most of the parking again as usual, and they are doing essentially the same exact thing they did last year, which is you have to email to sign up until May 5th, so it's still going. And then they're going to randomly sort everyone into 6 groups, correct? They usually do 6 groups.
It's always been 6 groups, yeah. I don't know.
And then basically you'll get your group, and starting on May 13th, you will be able to go in and purchase parking until whatever sells out. And by the time the 6th group is over, there is still some parking left, but all of the really close parking, like the convention center, Hilton Bayfront, those are usually gone. But there is parking available. So if you need parking, that's your process, and you just go to Ace Parking. Was it aceparking.com/Comic-Con?
Something like that. We've got a link on the site. But in general, since they've started to make it like a lottery, it's been, in my opinion, a much better system, much easier to use. So, yay, Ace Parking.
Yeah, and they have they need your credit card initially to make sure, and I think you can get 2 emails linked to 1 credit card, which is what they're doing to stop the multiple entries where people would just fill out 50 entries if they had 50 different emails. And not just 50. Like Ace has told me before that like they have like people who will do like literally like 2,000 forms. Eesh.
Like bananas.
Wow.
Like who has that kind of time?
Bots do.
Well, that's true. But like you must really want parking. So
Jermaine Cervantes asked, how easy has it been to park inside the actual convention center parking lot? Well, if you have group 1 parking, it's very easy. But the actual process of parking has gotten a lot better now that they've closed down Harbor.
Yeah, definitely.
It's basically, if you get there early enough, it's not a hassle at all. Which, 6 or 7 a.m. I think is early enough if you're not planning on getting there to line up for anything.
Yeah.
And you
I actually did it. I actually did it for the first time last year. I got the convention center, and it was much easier than I expected it to be. So yeah, it's not hard at all.
Yeah. Okay, so the other big news at the moment is basically that Comic-Con National is auctioning off a couple of pairs of 4-day badges. They did this in fall of 2017 for 2018 badges, but that was to support an actual charity, UNICEF, and this time it's for the Comic-Con Museum, which good for them, I guess. But right now there are 5 pairs of badges up on eBay. At the moment, the lowest one is going for $710, the highest for $2,550. However, when they did this, like I said, in fall of 2017, the average cost that these went for was around $6,000. So if you've got the money to blow,
and you way to get tickets.
Yes, if you don't mind spending, a couple grand, and you don't have a badge, like there's your way in.
There you go.
Yep, that's what I've got for you.
Yeah, my wallet's way too empty for that.
Yeah, same.
That's not going to happen. But in other news, we did actually get a pseudo announcement of an Amazon show that is going to be at Comic-Con this year. The showrunner behind Amazon's The Boys, which is the TV adaptation of the anti-hero comic, basically tweeted out, Amazon Video said, hey, The Boys is coming out, and the showrunner said, basically quoted it and said, see y'all at Comic-Con. So if that really doesn't,
pretty much means it's going.
Yeah, if that doesn't tell us it's coming.
There's right after the convention, Amazon has gone really, really big actually the last couple of years, and it's a total genre show. So there's no way it's not going to come. To me, the question with this one, honestly, is this going to be what Amazon structures their cool offsite around? Because for the last couple of years they've done some really cool offsites. They did the Tick, they did that Jack Ryan thing last year, which was massive and amazing.
Yeah, Jack Ryan thing was huge.
Before that, they did a couple other things, but nothing of quite the scale of those two. But I think that is definitely a trend that will continue. And I think this could very well be the big thing that Amazon wants to push this year.
Absolutely, and they've got a really big cast behind it. They've got Carl Urban, Elizabeth Shue, and I think that if they bring the cast, they'll definitely see a return. Like you said, it's coming out the week after Comic-Con. I don't see them not showing at least part of episode 1. So yeah, they'll definitely be there. But yeah, that Jack Ryan one last year was amazing.
It was amazing.
I wonder if we can expect to take over the same spot and then build some kind of dystopian superhero landscape where you get to go and beat up superheroes or something.
I mean, that'd be cool.
That would be cool. I think that would take out a lot of Comic-Con aggression that we might be building up.
Why wait in line when you can come and beat up a superhero?
There you go. All right. In other news, James, we got a verified pretty cool offsite.
Oh yeah.
Yes, and I've been trying to do the slides because we have actual slides for some of these things, but trying to do that and talk about things. But we have Animaniacs in concert, which is coming to the Balboa Theater, and tickets are currently on sale. They were on pre-sale, but they are actually live for everybody as of this morning. And tickets I saw were something like $29 on the site when I went and looked, and there are plenty of seats available. They start at $29, go all the way up to like $100. There are VIP packages, which include premium seating and a meet and greet. So this is basically kind of like a hint that something might also be coming, which is it's being rebooted. So in addition to Animaniacs in concert, with the cast there, I mean, we might actually see some panels or other things happening at Comic-Con itself.
I think it's very likely that we will. Like, traditionally, you don't bring that many people together in San Diego if they're not doing something at the convention center.
Yeah. Exactly.
So, so I would say that that's highly likely. Another cool thing that's going on, not actually during the convention, but before, is that the San Diego Padres are bringing back their Comic-Con night, which is basically a themed baseball game. This year will be on May 16th as they play against the Pirates. And what you can do is you can buy a ticket for, I want to say it's like $40. Let me look at this. Let me look. It's $30.50. And not only do you get to go to the game, but you also get a Comic-Con Padres hat, which is pretty cool. We've got the design up on the site. It looks really neat. And we are also giving away a pair of tickets to the event. That is on our site if you would like to try for a chance. Obviously, you do have to get yourself to the game. And once you do go to the game, they've got some other stuff going on that night. They'll actually be giving away some badges to San Diego Comic-Con 2019, and they'll also have a costume contest.
Sounds like fun.
It does. All right, James. What else is
next?
going on?
The Fur Universe is returning to Comic-Con. Kind of expected. It's their sixth fashion show. The entries for designers actually has already passed. It ended in April, and they've already picked them apparently. But there will also be the return of the junior competition. Those entries are also done on that. So basically, at this point, you can just look forward to seeing the Her Universe fashion show over at the Manchester Grand Hyatt if it's in the same place as usual, which it looks like it is. Thursday night, 6 p.m. Nothing changes about this. We went last year, and you can go and check out our review on the site. It's an awesome event, and I think that if it's any interest at all, even a little bit, you should go at least once during your Comic-Con days, years, whatever you want to make it over there one time, because it's a really fun show, and you get to see a lot of cool designs, and who knows who they'll bring up on stage, because last year we got to see the new Doctor without having to go to the Doctor Who panel in much better lighting, which is great for a photographer. So that's really cool.
Yeah.
And no water bottles.
And no water bottles. Yes, exactly.
James clearly had a miserable time there last year.
Absolutely.
All right, Andy.
All right. The next item we have in our news is the Comic-Con Museum event. If you went to WonderCon, you saw them announce that the Comic-Con Museum's first big ticket item that's partnering with them is DC Comics and Batman. They're hosting a Comic-Con gathering on July 17th. No, this isn't the gathering that they talked about in Highlander. No one's getting beheaded. At least I hope not. That would put a damper on things. But yeah, let's see here. It's going to be their inaugural fundraiser. It'll be the first one. Tickets are going on sale June 3rd. So if you are interested and you're going to be in town already for Comic-Con, you can get tickets for that.
Yeah.
Yeah,
and it's a cool chance to like check out the museum before it officially opens. Though honestly, if you are in the San Diego area at the moment, it seems like they're having an event like every other weekend. So
they really have a lot going on. I know they were having people in and out this past weekend for the Earth Day celebration. I've never
some witch movie screening that I'd never heard of. Yeah, they've got like a whole bunch of stuff going on lately.
Yeah, I keep seeing
There was an Elf Quest
Facebook events
thing.
pop up. Yeah.
Yeah.
So
go check out their Facebook events. If, like I said, if you're in the area and you want to see the Comic-Con Museum before it officially opens.
Yeah, because it's not open yet.
Yep. All right. We are going to move on to exclusives. And let's just do a quick little recap about how exclusives work. So for the most part, the way that exclusives work is that you basically just head to the booth and buy what you want. You might have to stay in a long line, but you just buy what you want. However, for a couple of the really large companies, for anyone who's new to Comic-Con or who did, they have started doing an exclusives portal. And last year was the first year they did it, but they brought it back again at WonderCon this year, and I see no reason to think that it won't be at San Diego this summer as well. And basically the way that it works is you sign up for whatever it is that you want, and then they, again, spin a giant wheel, throw darts at a wall, who knows, and they tell you if you won, and you get to go stand in a much shorter line to purchase your exclusives, which is cool. The companies who did it last year were Hasbro, Lego, including their minifig giveaway, UCC Distributing, and who am I forgetting, James?
Funko.
And Funko, yes, obviously. So those were the 4 exclusives company who did it last year. They also did signings the same way. They did something really interesting at WonderCon this year. Do you want to talk about that, James?
Sure. What they did is they limited you to how many selections you could make with tokens, and you could spend your tokens however you wanted, as long as you basically you could only spend as many as they give you, which I think was 3 for Friday, 4 for Saturday, and 4 for Sunday. Or was it 3, 4, 3? It was 3, 4.
I think it was.
Yeah, there was 10. You had 10 for the weekend.
Yeah,
Yes.
it's 3, 4, 3.
Yes.
So
Yes.
and so you could either put all 3 onto one, and you get 3 chances at that item at that signing, or you could put 1 on each if you wanted to do 3 different things, or you could do 2 on one and 2 on another. However you wanted to mix it up, you could, but you had a limited number of tokens to spend each day, and that's basically their answer to the people who just signed up for everything.
Yeah. The question at this point is, so at WonderCon, they only did autographs. They didn't do any exclusives. So I'm really curious to see if we just get like here's, I don't know, here's 25 points, use them towards autographs or exclusives or whatever you want, or if it's going to be like, here's 10 to use for autographs and 10 to use for exclusives. We don't know. So we'll have to see how that plays out.
Yep. But it'll force people to make decisions and only sign up for the things that they feel are the most important.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. But let's start off with, I'm going to do this out of order, actually, if that's okay, James.
Okay.
Let's start off with Hasbro, since they actually do use the portal. Or they did last year, and I am sure they will again.
So I have to talk about these, don't I?
Yeah.
While I'm trying to get the picture up here.
Wow.
Yeah, I'm going to talk
You
about
have the license plate on that bus, James?
At Star Wars Celebration of all places. And what they announced are, as you can see on the screen, are the Boba Fett and Luke special action figure set. The Boba Fett is a Black Series 6-inch Boba Fett figure. It'll be $24.99. And the Luke set is 3 different Lukes. It's the Vintage Collection 3.75-inch Original Trilogy Luke Skywalker Jedi Destiny figure set. That will be $49.99. The difference is there's not much different about Hasbro. It's going to be the same thing as they usually do, but I think the main difference now is they are announcing that they're going to be available at more conventions than usual.
Yes, usually they are.
It's like what Fan Expo Canada and Comic-Con are usually where they show up, and then they're available at their store if anything's left.
Yeah, that's exactly it.
But now they're basically becoming summer exclusives. They're not.
Yeah.
I don't understand it. It's not really exclusive at that point. We always have this issue, but they're premiering at Comic-Con maybe, and then going everywhere else. But who knows?
Well, and the kind of annoying thing is they didn't actually say like where it was going. They just said select conventions in North America, and then they listed some other countries as well, but let's just focus on North America. My guess would be that they show up at like New York Comic-Con maybe, and like Hasbro does their own convention, but honestly, who knows? Maybe they'll show up at like every convention.
The quote is, may be available at other select conventions in North America, South America, Australia, and Europe, as well as select retailers in Asia. So in other words, it'll be available worldwide.
Yeah, basically, yes.
Which kind of dilutes the exclusiveness of it, I think.
Yeah, it definitely does. But those are still some cool pieces. So if you want them, go for the portal. However, I will say this. Hasbro last year, basically after the morning portal people, they didn't do like late afternoon slots at all because they wanted to still take walk-ups. So if you don't win the portal and you really want any of these, you can probably just walk up to the booth. It's not the morning.
So what else?
Okay. All right. So moving right along to non-portal stuff. Here, I'll talk about this, James, since you just talked. Diamond announced their exclusives today, and as always, they've got quite a few, ranging from toys to comics to a whole bunch of other stuff. And they've got some really cool stuff this year. They've got everything from Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, which they've got a fun little Michelangelo as Batman, which I think is cool.
Which you can see on the screen right now.
Yeah. I liked that one. Just going by what's on the screen, we've got this Thanos Snap desk sculpture statue thing. We've got that Ghostbusters 4-pack action figure set, and we've got that Archie comic. They've got a whole bunch of stuff. They always do some fun things. The strange thing compared to everyone else about Diamond is that they don't actually sell the exclusives at the Diamond booth. So what you have to do if you want any of these is you have to go to the Diamond booth, get a sheet of paper that will tell you, like, here's the list of locations around the show floor that are selling our exclusives, and then you have to go to those booths and buy them, which is a little bit strange to me, but that's cool. So if you want
it's
any
not
of
a
that
scavenger
stuff,
hunt.
it's not a scavenger hunt.
And it's mainly because it's not really Diamond. It's more previews, and previews is just the book that retailers use to order stuff. So it's just retailers ordering exclusives that are Comic-Con.
Yes. And on that same note, a lot of the time you can find a lot of these online. Entertainment Earth does usually all of these. The only thing about ordering online is if for any reason they do sell out at the show, then you don't get your order, but that rarely happens. So if you don't want to go stand in line at all, go check out like Entertainment Earth or whoever else has these up at the moment. So yeah.
Speaking of Entertainment Earth, what did they have, Andy?
All right, that is a pretty smooth segue into Entertainment Earth here. They actually announced one exclusive so far. I still think it's early for exclusives, but maybe I'm just blissfully dreaming of the off season. I don't know, but their exclusive is going to be the special edition retro prototype 3 3/4 inch Darth Vader figure. It's going to retail for $12.99. And it'll be either at the Entertainment Earth booth 2343 or at Target.com in limited quantities. But that'll be after Comic-Con. So you won't. That's how it's still a Comic-Con exclusive.
It's Rainbow Vader.
It is.
It is Rainbow Vader. And the cool thing to me about this is that, like, since it's, I think it's basically meant to like represent a prototype. I don't think it actually is a prototype, but it looks to me like they're all different, which I think is a cool concept,
Yeah, just make like 8 or 9 different colors, and then just whatever someone randomly happens to grab, that's what gets put on yours.
Yeah, so I think that's cool. And Hasbro actually made these for anyone who is curious.
Yeah, they will a celebration as well.
Yes, but they will be available at the Entertainment Earth booth, or like Andy said, on Target.com. So the last thing that we really have to talk about is my buddy Patrick Ballesteros. He showed off a really cool Game of Thrones print that he's going to be bringing to the convention. There will be a 1-day online sale sometime in May, but the big debut for the print, it's not actually an exclusive, it's just a debut, but the big debut for it will be at Comic-Con. And if you haven't looked at it, it's gorgeous. It's based on basically 2 episodes ago, and it shows just kind of like the whole scope of the show, and it's really neat. The other thing that Patrick is doing this year is he is attempting to do 100 mini originals. Considering I feel like he tweets one out like once a day, I feel like he's going to do it just fine. But basically what he wants to do is every day have like 20 to 25 of these little mini originals that you can go up and grab for $45. So if you can't afford like a whole commission, like this is your chance to own original art, which is awesome. And he's got a whole plethora of characters, and they'll be available on a first come first basis each morning. So really cool stuff.
Yep.
Yep.
Definitely.
He had some of those at WonderCon. I think he did, what was it, 5 a day?
Yeah, I think it was like 3 to 5.
Right.
Yeah.
Those were awesome.
And just so you guys know, they went like that. So expect them to go even faster at San Diego.
On the chat, Jennifer Sager says Hasbro was much more walk-upable last year. Kind of showed how much the exhibitors were monopolizing the exclusives in previous years. That is a good point. The way it works in the lottery, exhibitor list, not all the dealers were lining up, before everyone got into the show. So, that would cut that down a bit.
But again, just like I said, Hasbro, you could absolutely walk up to late in the afternoon. UCC, you could absolutely walk up to. Lego, I don't know that you could, and I know you couldn't with Funko. But UCC and Hasbro.
I will say that with the system Lego, because the way the system works and it's random, and people who may have gotten a time slot they couldn't make once something came up onto the schedule that interfered with their time slot. Because on the last day I had one for, I think it was the Star Wars Lego, and they were letting everyone who was getting a Star Wars Lego also buy either an Aquaman or an Ant-Man set. So they obviously had some leftovers from previous days that did not get picked up. So
basically what James is saying is forget the other days, put all your tokens on Sunday on Lego.
Well, if that happens again, sure. Who knows?
I'm sure it will. You just regret saying that now so that you can't.
No, Karen Sessions said Lego exclusives did open up on the last day.
Good. Okay. So again, I think it was basically just Funko that like you weren't getting anywhere close if you didn't have a golden ticket. Yeah.
And I would also like to say that Aaron, Beverly and Aaron on Twitter did the math, and with 7 color options for that Rainbow Vader, there are over 117,000 possibilities of Vaders.
I mean, that's pretty cool.
That's pretty cool and unique.
Yep.
That's awesome. Yeah. All right. I think that about does it for exclusives at the moment. We will start having more. In fact, I know for a fact that Factor Entertainment starts next week. We are officially in May, which as far as we are concerned is the kickoff to con season, and it only ramps up from here. It'll be a little bit slow here for the next couple weeks, but then it gets crazy, and we mean crazy.
Yes. Iron Soul has a question. Token system should also cut down on signing up. The schedule will be out before exclusive drawings, right? No. The exclusive drawing system happens about 3 weeks before the con, and the schedule will be up 2 weeks before the con. The only reason, if you went to WonderCon, you noticed that the schedule was out before the exclusives this time. That is not going to happen at Comic-Con most likely, because the scheduling is a lot harder to do. WonderCon, they probably were just able to get the schedule out early. And so I would say you're not going to get that chance to sign up, because did it happen before, or didn't it?
Here's actually what happened last year, because I'm looking this up. So the portal opened before the schedule came out, but the portal closed well after the schedule came out. Okay. So if you're willing to be patient, do it the same.
Yeah.
Well, if you're willing to be patient, you can absolutely compare the schedule before you put in your tokens.
Oh,
but again, what are Comic-Con attendees not good at being?
But remember, they added the change feature. You can delete your selections and change them around.
Yes,
so they did add that feature.
Yes. So I guess you don't have to be patient at all. You can spend all your tokens and then go back and change them around when you see the schedule.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So now, you can be impatient and patient all at the same time.
It's like Schrodinger's cat. There you go.
All right. So let's head into some questions here. Sir Lister of Smeg asked, do you think Disney will be pushing their Disney Plus? Absolutely, because they said they will.
That's exactly it. During their big investor call the other day, or the other week, I guess, Bob Iger specifically said that they would be pushing Disney Plus at San Diego Comic-Con. So there's your answer. Now, what that looks like, no one really knows. I think it's very likely that we will get some cool panels with some cast. But as for what exactly which panels we'll get, who knows? Will that replace Marvel Studios? Who knows? We don't.
We will mention that MakingStarWars.net had a rumor that Disney Plus will be focusing on Mandalorian at D23, not at Comic-Con, but they will be focusing on The Rise of Skywalker at Comic-Con, and saying that we actually, at this point in time, are getting a panel for Star Wars. So the other stuff you may get is the other shows they've announced, which is Clone Wars, or some of the Marvel shows like WandaVision, or the Falcon and Winter Soldier. I think that one comes out first. Or Loki. Who knows what they can bring, just like have a Disney Plus panel and basically have like a WV version where they bring out just a few people to talk about the shows that they're making without actually having a whole lot to show, because they can pack it all into one panel.
And honestly, I would not even be surprised if like that was the Marvel Studios basically panel this year. Maybe.
Well, Marvel Studios, the cinematic side of Marvel Studios is running those Disney Plus TV shows.
Exactly. Unlike the other TV shows, Disney Studios has it seems like they have a pretty strong hand in these. So I think it's entirely possible that the Disney Plus side is basically the Marvel. And maybe that's what we're going to get. Maybe we're going to get the Marvel TV shows and the Star Wars movie, and then D23 is going to get the Star Wars TV shows and the Marvel movies. Like, who knows?
Yeah. The next question is from Jermaine Cervantes. Do you think Apple Plus will have any offsite since there is a new studio? I don't think so, because they just made the announcement and everything's like, we're planning to do this, and everything's ramping up. So I don't know if they're going to have a really strong presence until they have something to bring.
Yeah, I think so too. That's how I feel. I think it's just too early. All right. Holly Henning asked, what are you thinking we'll get to pick our signings lottery? Do you think all vendors will be a lottery this year? I definitely don't think all vendors will be a lottery. I think it will probably be the 4 that were last year, and that's probably it. I mean, I can't think of anyone else to even add into that equation except maybe like Mattel. Can you?
Which we have no clue what Mattel's doing.
No, but they brought some cool stuff last year, I will say. But they did their system totally different last year. Last year it was like order online and we'll ship, but you have to like check in at the booth. Like it was a crazy system.
Yeah, it wasn't really a Comic-Con exclusive system. It was just a pre-order verification system, I guess.
I mean, it was kind of an exclusive system. You just, again, it was just really weird.
You weren't walking away with anything.
No. So
Stephanie L asked about the signing lottery and how do you think it will change with respect to WonderCon, and we've already answered that with the token system and the fact that you can cancel things,
which are both very good changes. Let's see, Jermaine. Let's see. Corey L said, Hulu, please bring Veronica Mars to Comic-Con. I personally think there is a very strong chance that they will. I mean, when the movie came out a couple years ago, they went hard on it. The Veronica Mars people, they held a special like offsite thing for the people who backed the Kickstarter. They did a big panel at the convention center. They went like all out. So and Hulu likes Comic-Con. Like Hulu goes pretty hard at Comic-Con, and it comes out right after Comic-Con. So again, I think the timing there is going to be perfect for Veronica Mars. But there are people on my staff who don't agree with me, so we'll see.
And then we had Trope Force ask the question, do you think the new badge system is working to cut down on fraud? Walked into Hall H twice last year with little, if any, weight, but not sure if that was just programming. I think it was kind of programming last year. Basically, it's been proven over the years that if there isn't something major in Hall H that is going to draw a lot of people like WB or Marvel, then the room will fill up, but usually not until maybe a few hours before that particular panel. I think it was 2 years ago where every single day was walk-in except Saturday.
Yeah.
So
I mean, basically the big stuff of the last couple years has been Marvel, Game of Thrones, and Star Wars, and none of those were there last year in Hall H. So it made getting in a breeze. I don't think you will be as lucky in 2019.
Yeah, not if Disney plans to bring Star Wars again. So yeah,
But
at least not for that one.
I will say, I think that doing the lotteries in general also helped with lines, like not just Hall H, but I think that it cut down on lines in general.
Yeah.
Because people didn't have to camp out anymore for their stuff. And then sometimes people who maybe would have been camping out for Hall H instead went to go line up at 8 a.m. to get their Lego figure, you know? So I think it just had a really nice trickle down effect of cutting down on the lines.
Yeah,
Last year was magical.
Right. Instead of a few massive lines, there was a lot of smaller lines.
Yeah. It was fantastic.
Rena asked the question, now that Walking Dead is ending, what do you think will be the big thing people go crazy over? Is Walking Dead ending? Game of Thrones?
Sure. Game of Thrones is ending,
Yeah.
but they've also got a Game of Thrones prequel coming, so that's actually my guess.
Well, aren't there two other
Also,
Walking Dead spin-offs?
Was that?
Aren't there two more Walking Dead spin-offs?
Oh,
Yeah, but nobody likes Fear the Walking Dead. Nobody likes Fear the Walking Dead.
I think that yes, the Walking Dead will keep being big as long as it goes. And Game of Thrones, if they do a victory lap, which I doubt, unless they're using it to kick off any of the what is it, the prequels or whatever they're doing spin-offs.
Yeah.
But also, I don't know if they're going to bring it this year, but if it does well, I would expect the new Joss Whedon show that he's making for HBO to be something that they do drive really hard when the time comes for it to be ready to show.
Yeah.
Yeah. What HBO also has this year is oh god, why am I blanking?
Right?
Watchmen. Thank you. I was like the Damon Lindelof show, but yes, Watchmen.
It had something shown today, didn't it? Or was it recently? I know that someone mentioned something about it today. So maybe they'll be bringing that. And that made a big splash when they brought it for the movie. So obviously they're thinking that it's going to be something good for. I mean, I don't see why they have to bring that to Comic-Con. I mean, HBO likes coming to Comic-Con, and it's Comic-Con related.
Yeah. Plus, HBO also has Westworld, so I think they'll probably be back with that. And as several people in the comments have pointed out, now The Walking Dead is not ending. So, yeah.
It's Game of Thrones. And Sirless Respect says, for the love of God, will our badges have a new theme? Well, they did.
Yeah,
they did.
WonderCon were different.
So maybe
we'll get the boys.
Tick?
Oh, that would be nice.
Yeah, it was the
Yeah,
Ticks. It's Amazon, so maybe we'll get the boys. Maybe we'll all have Carl Urban on our badge.
There you go.
Or maybe Nosferatu will catch on.
Trope Force said the badges will be some NBC show that will be canceled pretty quickly.
No. Those are the lanyards.
Yes,
those are the lanyards and Pinfish.
Hey, I still wear my Reverie lanyard with pride, okay?
All right. I think that's going to wrap up this first episode of the season. What other little tidbits do we have? Anything?
Just one little tidbit. If you or someone you know still need badges to Comic-Con this year, you don't have to commit Harry Carey just yet. You can check out our contest hub on our site for contests for badges, parties, all kinds of stuff. They don't really do all expenses paid anymore. They don't really do all 4 days anymore. A lot of them are just 1 or 2 days now, but you're still getting a couple of passes to Comic-Con, and it's still a pretty sweet deal. So if you search Contest Hub on our site, it'll come right up.
One more thing. Stephanie had a good question. What amazing things do you think will be brought to Comic-Con's 50th anniversary show? I would expect amazing things, actually. I think they're going to pull out all the stops for this one. If you notice, I think they're on the 4th week of announcing special guests, and they're doing the usual guests that you would expect to see, but they're also bringing back guests from throughout the years. It looks like they're going to be bringing a lot of guests from throughout the entire history of Comic-Con. So first expect that, but also programming. I think they're going to step it up, and they may be doing a lot of anniversary panels and all kinds of stuff. But I expect something big to be happening for Comic-Con's 50th.
Yeah, and I'm wondering if last year wasn't some sort of experiment for the 50th, because last year was, or at least to me, felt so different. Maybe they were just playing around with things to see what might work this year.
See, I don't know. I have a different take on this than you two. Like, I fully expect Comic-Con International to, like you said, go really hard on like the comic side and on the special guests that they bring, but mostly because that's stuff that they can control. Kind of like they're doing some cool stuff at the museum, because again, that's something that they can control. I don't really feel like they can go to the studios and be like, hey, you have to bring this movie. So if that's your idea of going big, like I wouldn't necessarily assume that like every studio is going to attend or anything like that.
Right.
Just because again, that's not something that Comic-Con International can control. They can't tell the studios what to bring. The studios get to decide that, and if they even want to go. I mean, honestly though, if that report is accurate and Star Wars is back, like that's pretty much all anyone needs anyway though. But
and considering the long history Star Wars has, it would make sense for them to pick some things that have been pretty big at Comic-Con over the years and try and get them to come back, or have retrospective panels for them and bring back some of the original people that were involved, like mainly comic artists and writers and creators, and bring all of them back. And then have many things as they can throughout the show, just leaning into the history of the show itself.
Yes. Like I said, I think on the comics and the artist side, I think it's going to be amazing. And the programming side is always amazing, quite frankly. But just, I would temper my expectations as far as the studios, because again, it's not like Comic-Con can like force something onto them. Like they can say like it's our 50th, and they can be like, that's great. Like the timing doesn't make sense for us.
But I thought Comic-Con was like the powerhouse in the industry.
Right.
You know what I mean, James. All right, moving right along. Would you like to be featured on our site as our fan of the week? You can be. We have brought back our our attendee of the week, for 2019. And there's a link in our show notes. So basically you go and you tell us a couple things about your experiences at Comic-Con. And if the lovely Kara on our staff chooses you, then you get to be featured. So that's fun. We are bringing back Prize Mule for 2019. I know you guys all love Prize Mule. We are working right now on securing a couple of sponsors. We'll have a couple things to announce, probably starting here in the next couple weeks. And then on Sunday night of the convention, a whole new night, we will be doing our reader meetup. This year will be called PaceyCon 2019.
And why is it called PaceyCon, Carrie?
Because in 2010, Joshua Jackson did my favorite video that's ever come out of Comic-Con. If you haven't seen it, go Google PaceyCon. I mean, that's basically it. And I think it's funny. You can probably expect us to bring some stupid Dawson's Creek themed things to give away, as well as actual good Comic-Con stuff. So we hope you'll come hang out. I don't know where yet. I don't know when, except Sunday night. But we will have all those details as we get closer.
Yep. All right. Okay, so actually, I did want one more thing, because we see the comments in there. Someone was mentioning that maybe we should have a Stan Lee Memoriam at Comic-Con, which we did have at WonderCon, as well as a John Rogers Memoriam instead of Talkback. And I think I overheard them mentioning that they would be doing the same thing at Comic-Con this year. So
I'm sure they will.
Expect the final thing at Comic-Con to be a John Rogers Memoriam. For those of you who don't know, he was the president of Comic-Con who has ran it for the last... he ran it since the mid 80s, I think. And so he was the controlling force in Comic-Con becoming what it is. He was at the head, and he was the one directing things. So it was a really good memoriam. They had some people who've known him for years. His wife was on the panel, and they just talked about John Rogers and what he's done and what he's meant to Comic-Con, and it was really cool. And I would expect to see that again. And the Stanley one, I'm sure someone will also set up a Stanley memoriam. So expect to see that as well.
Yeah, I'm sure they will. Real quick, Corey asked in the comments, at PaceyCon, do we have to dress up as Pacey? No, you don't. You really don't.
But it's encouraged. We're not going to tell you not to.
I mean,
we are not going to tell you not to. I'm a 90s kid, and if you want to dress up like 1994, I would love to see that.
It. Yeah,
I think I still have stuff in my parents' attic.
All right. And I think that pretty much does it, right?
That does it for today. You can join us live every Wednesday until Comic-Con for all the news, views, and special guests leading up to Comic-Con 2019.
You can sign up for our newsletter. I actually talked to my graphic designer today and said I want to send one out starting next week. So I think we actually will.
All right. Link is in the show notes and on the site.
Yep.
In closing, thank you all for joining us. We really appreciate all of you who tune in to watch, and for those of you who listen as well. And so, Andy, where can we find more of your work on the internet?
I am on Twitter and Instagram as SDCC Wacky Wags. And Carrie, where can we find more of your work on the internet?
You can find me on Twitter and Twitter alone at Carrie Dixon. James, where can we find more of your work on the internet?
I am everywhere on the internet at Dan Regal. And also thank you to Beth, our producer, for editing the show, which has not happened yet, but will, and creating all the slides and everything that she does to make sure that this podcast gets into your eyes and ears.
Thank you, Beth.
We love you, Beth.
She'll hear this later. She's in the other room. She's not even paying
That's okay.
What a great
That's
producer.
Okay. We are links are up on the blog, or you can search for SDConCast. If you like what you've heard so far, please review us. We are also on Stitcher Radio. The link is in the show notes.
If you want to get a hold of us, you can send us an email at sdcomiccon.blog@gmail.com. Find us on Facebook at facebook.com/sdconblog, or tweet us at sd_comic_con. Thank you all for listening, and everybody, go
Shawarma!